The medical bay on Harmony Station was quieter than usual. The only sounds were the soft beeping of alien medical equipment and the occasional whimper from the patient on the floating bed. Krell Moth, the Vorthak ambassador, stared at the ceiling. With his large, dark eyes, his right arm was wrapped in a strange blue substance that glowed softly. The doctors said it would help his bones grow back together. His elbow was broken in 3 places. The human girl had grabbed his arm and twisted it in a way that no Vorthak arm was meant to bend. The doctors kept shaking their heads and making worried clicking sounds with their tongues. They had never seen bones broken so badly from such a simple movement. "How is he?" asked Dr. Veltar, the Altarian doctor in charge of the medical bay. Her crystal-like skin reflected the blue glow from Krellmoth's bandages. "The bones will heal," said the Vorthak doctor, whose name was too difficult for most other species to say. "But I do not understand how this happened. The human female was so small. Krellmoth is twice her size, and much stronger than most species here." Dr. Veltar looked at the medical readouts on her screen. The numbers made no sense. According to the scans, the human girl had used only a small amount of her strength. The computer estimated she could have easily torn Krellmoth's arm completely off if she had wanted to. "This is impossible," Dr. Veltar whispered. "These readings must be wrong." 3 levels down, Lee Hanna sat on a metal bench in a holding cell. She was confused and scared. The walls were smooth and white with no windows. A small light in the ceiling gave off a cold blue glow. She had been here for 3 hours, and no one had told her why. All she remembered was walking through the station's main corridor. She was on her way to the library to study for her xenobiology exam. Suddenly, someone grabbed her arm from behind. Her body moved without thinking. She spun around, grabbed the alien's arm, and twisted. There was a loud crack, and then the alien was on the floor, screaming. Hanna had learned basic self-defense, back home on Titan. Her father always said that a person should be ready to protect themselves, but she never thought such a simple move would hurt someone so badly. The alien's arm had felt as fragile as a bird's wing. The door to her cell made a soft hissing sound and slid open. Park Jinho, the human diplomat, walked in. His face was red with worry, and his usually neat hair was messy. He carried a small tablet and a cup of what smelled like coffee. "Hanna," he said, sitting down next to her. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but her hands were shaking. "What happened to the alien? Is he going to be okay?" Park Jinho sighed. "His name is Krellmoth. He's a Vorthak ambassador. His elbow is broken, but the doctors say he will heal." He paused and looked at his tablet. "Hanna, we need to talk about what you did." "I didn't mean to hurt him," Hanna said quickly. "He grabbed me and I just reacted. My body moved by itself." "I know," Park Jinho said. "But that's the problem. You reacted in 12/100ths of a second. That's faster than most aliens can even think." Hanna stared at him. "What does that mean?" Park Jinho showed her the tablet screen. On it was a video of the incident, taken from a security camera. Hanna watched herself spin around and grab Krellmoth's arm. The movement was so fast that the alien hadn't even had time to let go of her arm. "The other species are scared, Hanna," Park Jinho said. "They're saying that humans are too dangerous to be around. Some of them want to ban all humans from the station." "But I was just defending myself," Hanna said. "Anyone would do the same thing." "That's what I keep trying to tell them," Park Jinho said. "But they don't understand. Most aliens here come from worlds with low gravity and weak predators. They've never had to develop quick reflexes or strong muscles. To them, what you did looks like an attack." Hanna felt tears forming in her eyes. "Am I in trouble?" "I don't know yet," Park Jinho said honestly. "The Galactic Council is meeting to decide what to do. I've called Earth for backup, but it will take days for anyone to get here." In the station's communication center, news of the incident was spreading fast. Every species had their own news networks, and all of them were talking about the same thing. A human girl had broken an ambassador's arm with her bare hands. On the Felixian homeworld, families gathered around their viewing screens to watch the security footage. Parents covered their children's eyes when the video showed Krellmoth's arm bending in the wrong direction. Some Felixians fainted just from watching. The Crystalline Empire sent an emergency message to all their ships. Avoid physical contact with humans at all costs. The message included a list of safe distances to maintain around different human age groups. Even human children were classified as potentially dangerous. In the tentacled collective space, scientists were running calculations. They wanted to know how much force the human girl had actually used. The results terrified them. According to their math, she had been gentle. If she had used her full strength, she could have killed Krellmoth instantly. Ambassador Veltar received dozens of messages from different species. All of them had the same question: how many more humans were on the station? The answer made everyone even more worried. There were 47 humans living and working on Harmony Station. Suddenly, that seemed like 47 too many. In the holding area's guard station, 2 Altarian security officers were watching the security footage for the 20th time. They kept slowing it down, trying to understand what had happened. "Look at her face," said one guard. "She doesn't even look angry, she looks surprised." "That makes it worse," said the other guard. "She broke his arm and didn't even mean to. What could she do if she was actually trying to hurt someone?" They both shivered, their crystal skin changing to a worried purple color. Back in the medical bay, Krellmoth was finally able to speak. His voice was weak and shaky. "I just wanted to ask her a question," he whispered. "I touched her shoulder to get her attention. That's normal behavior on my world." Dr. Veltar made notes on her tablet. "What happened next?" "Pain," Krellmoth said simply. "More pain than I have ever felt. It happened so fast. One moment I was touching her shoulder, the next moment I was on the floor with my arm broken." Dr. Veltar looked at the security footage. Again. She noticed something that everyone else had missed. Just before Krellmoth grabbed Hana's arm, the girl had turned slightly. Her body language showed that she knew someone was behind her. But instead of running or calling for help like most species would do, she had prepared to fight. "Doctor," Krellmoth said quietly, "are all humans like this?" Dr. Veltar didn't know how to answer. She had worked with humans before, but she had always thought they were just another peaceful species. Now she realized that humans might be something completely different, something that the galaxy wasn't prepared for. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I think we're about to find out." The investigation room was filled with beings from 12 different species. They sat around a curved table that glowed with soft white light. At the center of the room, a large screen showed the security footage of Lee Hana breaking Krellmoth's arm. The video had been played 43 times in the last 6 hours. Kim Dae-ho stood at the front of the room, holding a small device that projected images into the air. As the only human xenobiologist on the station, he had been called to explain something that most aliens couldn't understand: how humans worked. "The human body is different from most of yours," Kim Dae-ho said, his voice calm and professional. "We come from what you call a Deathworld." Counselor Thexip, a tall, crystalline being, made a sound like breaking glass. "Please explain what you mean by Deathworld." Kim Dae-ho touched his device, and a picture of Earth appeared in the air. "Our home planet has gravity that is 2 to 3 times stronger than most of your worlds. The air pressure is higher. The weather is more dangerous. We have storms that can destroy cities and animals that hunt in packs." The room became very quiet. Several smaller aliens moved their chairs back from the table. "Because of this environment," Kim Dae-ho continued, "humans developed strong bones, dense muscles, and very fast reactions. What Lee Hana did to Ambassador Krellmoth was not an attack. It was an automatic response that all humans have. A Felixian. Counselor raised her small, furry hand. Are you saying that all humans are this strong? Yes, Kim Dae-ho said. But we are also trained from childhood to be gentle with others. We know that most beings in the galaxy are more fragile than we are. Another image appeared in the air. It showed a human skeleton next to skeletons from other species. The human bones were much thicker and denser. This is impossible, whispered a tentacled delegate. How do you move with such heavy bones? They're not heavy to us, Kim Dae-ho explained. Our muscles are also much stronger than yours. A human child can lift things that would require machines for most of your species. While the meeting continued, Choi Mira was walking through the station's security center. As the only human security officer on Harmony Station, she had access to all the incident reports. What she found in the files made her stomach feel sick. There had been 17 other incidents involving humans in the past year. All of them had been classified as minor accidents and filed away without investigation. But when Mira read the details, she realized they were anything but minor. 3 months ago, Nam Ho Jin, a human engineer, had shaken hands with a crystalline diplomat. The alien's hand had cracked, requiring 2 weeks of medical treatment. The incident was recorded as cultural misunderstanding. Last month, a human child visiting the station had hugged a Felixian teacher. The teacher suffered 3 broken ribs. The report said it was enthusiastic behavior from a young human. 2 weeks ago, Dr. Yoon Tae-min had patted a Vorthak colleague on the back in a friendly gesture. The alien had fallen forward and hit his face on a desk. The incident was labeled accidental contact. Choi Mira realized that the aliens working in security had been unconsciously avoiding physical contact with humans. When incidents happened, they filed them as accidents because they couldn't believe that humans might be naturally dangerous. She picked up her communication device and called Park Jin-ho. "We have a problem," she said when he answered. "A much bigger problem than just Hana's incident." Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Yoon Tae-min was examining Krellmoth's arm with a worried expression. The healing was going well, but something else bothered him. "Tell me again exactly how the human grabbed you," Dr. Yoon said. Krellmoth moved his good arm to demonstrate. "She spun around and grabbed my wrist. Then she twisted my arm behind my back and pushed up." Dr. Yoon nodded thoughtfully. "That's a basic self-defense move. Very common on Earth." "Self-defense?" Krellmoth's eyes went wide. "But I wasn't attacking her." "You grabbed her from behind without warning," Dr. Yoon explained. "On Earth, that's how predators attack." Her body responded, to protect her life. "I was just trying to get her attention," Krellmoth said. "That's normal behavior on my world." Dr. Yoon felt a chill run down his spine. "Krellmoth, has anyone explained to you that humans come from a world with dangerous predators?" "No," the ambassador said. "I thought humans were peaceful, like most galactic species." Dr. Yoon realized that this was the real problem. The galaxy had spent so long at peace that most species had forgotten what it meant to be prey. They didn't understand that some beings still carried the instincts needed to survive in dangerous worlds. Back in the investigation room, the questions were getting more difficult. "How do we know that humans can control these reflexes?" asked. Counselor Theksip Kim Dae-ho showed another image. This one was a chart showing human population numbers. "There are over 12 billion humans in the galaxy now. We have been part of galactic society for 50 years. In that time, there have been fewer than 20 incidents involving human strength." "But those incidents have been hidden," said a new voice from the back of the room. Choi Mira had entered the meeting room with a tablet full of security reports. "Officer Choi," Kim Dae-ho said, surprised. "What do you mean, hidden?" Choi Mira activated the room's display screen. Security reports appeared, showing incident after incident. "These reports show a pattern," she said. "Aliens working with humans instinctively avoid physical contact. When accidents happen, they're filed as minor incidents because no one wants to admit that humans might be dangerous. The room erupted in worried chatter. Several aliens were now standing and moving toward the exits. "Wait!" Kim Dae-ho said loudly. "You're missing the important point. Look at these reports again. In every case, the human was trying to be friendly or helpful. No human has ever deliberately hurt anyone." Counselor Thexip's crystalline body was flashing red with anger. "But they could if they wanted to." "Yes," Kim Dae-ho admitted, "but so could you with your technology. So could the tentacled collective with their ships. The ability to cause harm doesn't mean someone will choose to cause harm." A small Felixian delegate named Pipka spoke up in a tiny voice. "But what if a human gets angry? What if they lose control?" Kim Dae-ho looked around the room at all the frightened faces. "That's why we teach our children to control their strength from a very young age. That's why we have martial arts and sports that help us learn discipline. That's why Hana stopped as soon as she realized Krell Moth was not a threat." "She could have killed him," Counselor Thexip said. "But she didn't," Kim Dae-ho replied firmly. "She used exactly the amount of force needed to stop what she thought was an attack, and then she stopped. That shows perfect control, not lack of control." Choi Mira stepped forward. "There's something else you should know. I've been looking at the betting records in the entertainment district. Some aliens have been making bets about human strength. Limits. They've been testing us without our knowledge." The room went completely silent. This was a serious accusation. If aliens had been deliberately provoking humans to test their limits, it could be considered an act of war. Kim Dae-ho felt his heart racing, but he kept his voice calm. "What kind of tests?" "Small things," Choi Mira said. "Asking humans to lift heavy objects, challenging humans to arm wrestling contests, offering prizes for humans who could break certain materials." "And the results?" asked Counselor Thexip. Choi Mira's expression was grim. "The humans always won. Usually without even trying very hard. The betting pools have grown larger every month." Kim Dae-ho realized that this investigation was about to become much more complicated. It wasn't just about one girl defending herself. It was about an entire galaxy that was just beginning to understand what humans really were. The cultural center on Harmony Station had never been so busy. Shin Bo-ra stood in the middle of the large room, watching aliens from 12 different species nervously arrange chairs in small circles. She had called this emergency meeting after hearing about the investigation results. If the galaxy was going to learn the truth about humans, they needed to do it safely. "Thank you all for coming," Shin Bo-ra said, her voice carrying easily across the room. "I know many of you are scared after what happened to Ambassador Krell Moth, but fear comes from not understanding. Today, we're going to change that." A small Felixian named Rixka raised her furry hand. "Are you going to hurt us?" Shin Bo-ra smiled gently. "No, Rixka. That's exactly what we're here to prevent. We're going to show you how humans interact safely with other species." At the back of the room, Nam Hyun-soo was setting up demonstration equipment. As the station's human martial arts instructor, he had volunteered to help with the physical demonstrations. He was being extra careful with everything he touched, aware that dozens of alien eyes were watching his every movement. "First," Shin Bo-ra said, "let's talk about human greetings. On Earth, we often shake hands when we meet someone." She gestured to a brave Altarian volunteer named Zol-ip, whose crystalline skin was glowing a nervous blue color. "Zol-ip has agreed to demonstrate a safe handshake with me," Shin Bo-ra said. "Everyone please watch my hand." She extended her hand toward Zol-ip very slowly. The Altarian reached out with his crystalline fingers, which looked like beautiful blue glass. "Now watch," Shin Bo-ra said. "I'm going to grip his hand with about 1% of my strength." Even with barely any pressure, Zolip's eyes went wide. His skin flashed bright yellow with surprise. "That feels very strong," Zolip said, his voice shaking slightly. Shin Bo-ra immediately loosened her grip. This is what we call a gentle handshake for humans. But as you can see, even our gentlest touch can be overwhelming for other species. A tentacled being named Fluxaya raised one of his many arms. How do humans greet each other if you're all so strong? Nam Hyunsu stepped forward. Would you like to see? He and Shin Bo-ra faced each other and shook hands normally. The sound of their grip was like two pieces of metal connecting. Several aliens gasped and moved backward. That handshake would shatter most of your bones, Nam Hyunsu explained matter-of-factly. But for humans, it's just normal greeting behavior. Rixka the Felixian was trembling. How do you not hurt each other all the time? We learn control from birth, Shin Bo-ra said. Human parents spend years teaching their children to be gentle. We practice on fragile objects like eggs and flower petals. She picked up an egg from the demonstration table and held it out for everyone to see. Then she cracked it gently into a bowl, using just enough pressure to break the shell without crushing it completely. Every human child practices this hundreds of times, she explained. We learn to control our strength the way you might learn to control your voice volume. A brave, crystalline volunteer named Ketom stepped forward. Could you show us what human children are like? Shin Bo-ra looked uncomfortable. Are you sure? The results might be disturbing. Several aliens nodded, though they looked nervous. Shin Bo-ra pulled up a video on the room's main screen. It showed human children playing on a playground on Earth. The children were running, jumping, and playing games that involved pushing and wrestling with each other. The alien audience watched in complete silence. On the screen, a 6-year-old human girl lifted a piece of playground equipment that weighed more than most adult aliens. She carried it across the playground and set it down gently, then ran off to play with her friends. That child, whispered a Vorthak observer, is stronger than our military soldiers. Yes, Shin Bo-ra said sadly, but she's also gentle enough to pet butterflies without hurting them. Human strength comes with human control. Nam Hyunsu decided it was time for a more active demonstration. Who would like to arm wrestle with me? The room became very quiet. No one moved. I promise I'll be extremely gentle, Nam Hyunsu said. I'll use less than 1% of my strength. Finally, a large Vorthak named Greltalk stepped forward. He was almost twice Nam Hyunsu's size and considered very strong by galactic standards. They sat across from each other at a small table. Nam Hyunsu put his elbow on the table and extended his hand. Greltalk gripped it with both of his large hands. Ready? Nam Hyunsu asked. Greltalk nodded and pushed with all his strength. His face turned red with effort. Nam Hyunsu's arm didn't move even slightly. In fact, he looked completely relaxed, as if nothing was happening. I'm using about 0.5% of my strength right now, Nam Hyunsu said conversationally. Should I push back a little? No, Greltalk gasped, letting go quickly. His hands were shaking. That's enough demonstration. The aliens in the room were now looking at the humans with something between awe and terror. Shin Bo-ra tried to lighten the mood. Would anyone like to try a different kind of demonstration? Maybe something less physical? A Felixian raised her hand. Could you show us how humans sit in chairs? This seemed like a safe request. Shin Bo-ra walked over to a chair that had been specially reinforced for the demonstration. It was made of the strongest materials available on the station. This chair is rated to hold 5 times the weight of the heaviest galactic species, she explained. It should be perfectly safe. Shin Bo-ra sat down normally. There was a loud cracking sound. She immediately stood up, and everyone could see that the chair's legs had developed stress fractures. Oh no, Shin Bo-ra said, looking embarrassed. I'm sorry. I was trying to be gentle. Dr. Veltar, who had been watching from the back of the room, stepped forward with a scanner. She ran it over the broken chair. According to these readings, she said, her voice full of disbelief, you sat down with less force than a Felixian child would use, but the chair couldn't handle your body weight. The room was completely silent now. The aliens were beginning to understand that human strength wasn't just about muscles. Even their bones and body weight were far beyond what the galaxy considered normal. Fluxea, the tentacled being, spoke up in a shaky voice. "Are we safe around you?" Nam Hyun-soo and Shin Bo-ra looked at each other. This was the question they had been hoping to avoid. "You're safe," Shin Bo-ra said firmly. "As long as you understand our limitations and we understand yours." "What do you mean?" asked Zolip. Nam Hyun-soo explained. "We need you to understand that surprising a human can trigger defensive reflexes. We need you to approach us from the front, speak before touching us, and avoid sudden movements. And we need to understand your fragility," Shin Bo-ra added. "We need to know that what feels gentle to us might still be too strong for you." A young crystalline engineer named Fexil had been taking notes throughout the demonstration. He looked up from his tablet with a worried expression. "I've been calculating the force measurements from today's demonstrations," he said. "According to my math, the weakest adult human is still stronger than 90% of all galactic species." "And human children?" asked Rixka nervously. Fexil's crystalline skin turned a deep purple with fear. "Human children are stronger than most of our adults." The room erupted in nervous chatter. Aliens were whispering to each other in dozens of different languages. Some were moving toward the exits. Shin Bo-ra raised her voice to get their attention. "Please don't be afraid. Yes, humans are strong, but we've been living peacefully in galactic society for 50 years. We don't want to hurt anyone." "But you could," said Greltalk, still rubbing his hands from the arm wrestling demonstration. "Yes," Nam Hyun-soo admitted. "We could, but we choose not to. That choice is what makes us civilized beings, just like you." Dr. Veltar stepped forward again. "I have a question for both humans and non-humans. How do we move forward from here, Shin?" Bo-ra thought for a moment. "We need new protocols, ways for humans and non-humans to interact safely. We need to teach both sides what to expect from each other. And we need to stop being afraid," added a surprising voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see Krelmoth, the Vorthak, ambassador who had been injured by Lee Hana. His arm was still in a healing cast, but he had come to watch the demonstrations. "Ambassador Krelmoth," Shin Bo-ra said, surprised. "Should you be here?" "Yes," he said firmly. "I need to understand what happened to me. And I need others to understand it too." He walked slowly to the front of the room, his injured arm supported by a sling. "I was wrong to grab the human girl without warning," he said. "On my world, touching someone's shoulder is friendly, but now I understand that on her world, grabbing someone from behind means danger." The room was completely quiet as Krelmoth continued. "The girl, Lee Hana, was not attacking me. She was protecting herself. If I had been a real threat, she could have done much worse than break my arm." Several aliens gasped at this statement. "But she didn't," Krelmoth said. "She used exactly enough force to stop me, and then she stopped. That shows incredible control for someone so powerful." He looked around the room at all the frightened faces. "We shouldn't fear humans," he concluded. "We should respect them, and we should learn how to live with them safely." The Galactic Council chambers had never hosted such an important emergency session. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their specialized seats, arranged in a great circle around the central speaking area. The air hummed with tension as translators worked overtime, converting nervous chatter between dozens of languages. At the center of it all stood High Counselor Zephron, a tall being whose silver skin reflected the chamber's lights. His forearms gestured for silence as the last delegates took their seats. "We are here," Zephron announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber, "to decide the future of human participation in galactic society." Lee Hana sat in a small chair next to Ambassador Kang Jiwoo, the senior human diplomat. Her hands were folded in her lap, and she looked very small, surrounded by so many alien beings. She had been allowed out of her holding cell just 2 hours ago, and everything felt like a strange dream. Beside them sat Jang Soon-ho, a human legal advocate who had arrived on the fastest ship from Earth. His briefcase was full of documents and legal precedents, but he wasn't sure any of them would matter in a case like this. The Vorthak Collective has made a formal request, High Counselor Zephyron continued. They want all humans to be classified as living weapons and restricted from free movement in galactic space. A murmur of agreement rose from several sections of the chamber. The Phylixian delegate, her furry face tense with worry, stood to speak. "The demonstrations yesterday proved what we suspected," she said in her high, squeaky voice. "Humans are too dangerous to move freely among peaceful species. Even their children could kill most of us by accident." "That's not true," Ambassador Kang Jiwoo said, rising to his feet. "Humans have been part of galactic society for 50 years. Our safety record speaks for itself." A crystalline representative's skin flashed red with anger. "Your safety record includes 17 unreported incidents and 1 ambassador in the medical bay. 17 minor accidents in 50 years, Jang Soon-ho interjected, involving over 12 billion humans. That's a lower incident rate than most industrial equipment." The tentacled delegate named Quexip waved several arms dismissively. "But the potential for harm is limitless. What happens when a human gets truly angry? What happens in war?" "Humans don't start wars," Ambassador Kang Jiwoo replied firmly. "We've been members of this council for decades without a single act of aggression." "Because you haven't needed to fight yet," accused the Vorthak delegate. "But when the time comes, you could destroy us all." High Counselor Zephyron gestured for quiet. The accused human will now be allowed to speak. All eyes turned to Lee Hana. She looked terrified, but she stood up slowly. Her voice was barely above a whisper at first. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she said. "Where I come from, if someone grabs you from behind, it usually means danger. My body moved before my brain could think." "Exactly our point," said the Phylixian delegate. "Your reflexes are too fast and too violent for civilized society." Hana's voice grew stronger. "But I stopped as soon as I realized he wasn't a real threat. If I had wanted to hurt Ambassador Krelmoth, I could have done much worse." The chamber fell silent. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "What do you mean by that?" asked High Counselor Zephyron. Hana looked at Ambassador Kang Jiwoo, who nodded encouragingly. "The move I used on him was a basic wrist control technique," Hana explained. "It's designed to stop someone without causing permanent damage. If I had thought he was really trying to hurt me, I would have used different techniques." "What kind of techniques?" pressed the crystalline delegate. Hana hesitated. "Techniques that would have made sure he could never grab anyone again." The chamber erupted in frightened chatter. Several smaller aliens actually left their seats and moved toward the exits. Jang Soon-ho stood quickly. "Council members, please. Miss Lee is trying to explain that humans are taught to use minimal necessary force. She chose the gentlest option available to her." "Gentlest?" The Vorthak delegate's voice cracked with disbelief. "She broke his elbow in 3 places." "Yes," Hana said quietly, "but I could have broken his neck just as easily." The statement caused chaos in the chamber. Aliens were shouting in dozens of languages, their translators struggling to keep up. High Counselor Zephyron had to use his emergency gavel to restore order. "The human girl has just threatened to kill members of this council," declared the Phylixian delegate. "No," Ambassador Kang Jiwoo said firmly. "She's explaining the restraint that humans show every day. She's telling you that she chose not to kill when she easily could have." "That's supposed to make us feel better?" asked the tentacled delegate. Jang Soon-ho activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "Let me show you something," he said. "This is data from the past 50 years of human participation in galactic society." Charts and graphs appeared in the air, showing statistics and incident reports. Humans have served as bodyguards for alien diplomats. Human soldiers have protected non-human colonies from pirates and raiders. Human doctors have saved millions of alien lives using their steady hands and quick reflexes. But they could have killed those same aliens, interrupted the crystalline delegate. Yes, Jang Sunho agreed. But they didn't. That's the point. The ability to cause harm doesn't equal the intention to cause harm. High Counselor Zephron leaned forward. What exactly are you asking this council to do? Ambassador Kang Ji-woo stepped forward. We're asking you to judge humans by our actions, not our capabilities. We're asking you to recognize that 50 years of peaceful coexistence proves our commitment to galactic harmony. And if we refuse, asked the Vorthak delegate, then you'll lose the protection that human strength has provided, Jang Sunho said simply. Who will guard your trade routes from raiders? Who will rescue your people from dangerous situations? Who will do the jobs that require strength and quick reflexes? The chamber grew quiet as delegates considered this. Many alien civilizations had grown dependent on human services in dangerous situations. There's something else you should consider, Lee Hana said, her voice now steady and clear. You want to restrict humans because we're strong. But what happens when you meet species that are even stronger than us? What do you mean? Asked High Counselor Zephron. The galaxy is a big place, Hana continued. Earth isn't the only death world out there. Someday you might encounter beings who make humans look weak. When that happens, wouldn't you want experienced Deathworlders as allies instead of enemies? This thought sent another wave of nervous chatter through the chamber. The crystalline delegates' skin had turned a worried purple. Are you saying there are beings stronger than humans? Probably, Hana admitted. And if you drive humans away now, we won't be here to help you deal with them later. Ambassador Kang Ji-woo seized the moment. Counselor Zephron, we propose a compromise. Instead of restricting humans, create new integration protocols. Teach both humans and non-humans how to interact safely. Make it official policy. And Miss Lee? Asked the Felixian delegate. What about her punishment? Before anyone could answer, a new voice spoke from the chamber's entrance. There will be no punishment. Everyone turned to see Krelmoth entering the chamber, his injured arm still in its healing cast. He moved slowly but deliberately toward the center of the room. Ambassador Krelmoth, High Counselor Zephron said, surprised. You should be in medical care. I am well enough to speak, Krelmoth replied. And I have something important to say. He looked directly at Lee Hana. Miss Lee, I forgive you completely. You were protecting yourself from what you thought was an attack. I was wrong to grab you without warning. The chamber was completely silent. Furthermore, Krelmoth continued, I formally request that no charges be filed against Miss Lee. She acted appropriately given her training and circumstances. But your arm, protested the Vorthak delegate, will heal, Krelmoth said firmly. But the damage to human-alien relations might not heal if we make the wrong decision here. He turned to address the full council. I have spent 3 days thinking about this incident. I have watched the cultural demonstrations. I have spoken with human doctors and diplomats, and I have reached a conclusion. Which is? Asked High Counselor Zephron. Humans are not weapons, Krelmoth declared. They are guardians. For 50 years, they have used their strength to protect us, not harm us. Miss Lee's reflexes saved her life, but those same reflexes have saved alien lives countless times. He gestured to Lee Hana. This young woman showed perfect control in a dangerous situation. She stopped the moment she realized I was not a threat. That level of restraint from someone so powerful should be celebrated, not punished. The chamber remained quiet as delegates absorbed Krelmoth's words. What do you propose? Asked High Counselor Zephron. Krelmoth smiled, though the expression was painful with his healing injuries. I propose that Miss Lee become the first official human cultural safety instructor. Let her teach others what she tried to teach me yesterday, how to interact with humans safely. And in return, pressed the crystalline delegate, in return, humans will teach us how they maintain such incredible self-control. Perhaps other species can learn from their example. High Counselor Zephron looked around the chamber at the faces of 47 species. 1 week later, Harmony Station looked very different. New signs had been posted throughout the corridors, written in dozens of languages. They showed simple pictures of humans and other species interacting safely. The signs reminded everyone about the new contact protocols that the Galactic Council had approved. Dr. Oh Min-jung walked through the station's main corridor carrying a tablet full of notes. As the newly appointed Director of Interspecies Relations, she had spent the week creating training programs for both humans and aliens. It was challenging work, but she was starting to see positive results. She stopped at one of the new signs and smiled. It showed a human and a Felixian shaking hands properly, with the human using just one finger to gently touch the Felixian's small paw. Below the picture, text in 12 languages explained the 1% rule. Humans should use no more than 1% of their strength when interacting with most alien species. Dr. O, called a familiar voice behind her. She turned to see Lee Hana approaching, wearing a new uniform with the words Cultural Safety Instructor printed in Galactic Standard script. The young woman looked much more confident than she had a week ago. "How was your first official training session?" Dr. O asked. Hana's face lit up with a smile. "Better than I expected. 3 crystalline engineers and 2 Felixian diplomats attended. They actually seemed excited to learn." "And nervous?" "Very nervous," Hana admitted. "But they stayed for the whole 2-hour session. That's progress." They walked together toward the cultural center, where a much larger group was gathering for the afternoon session. Through the transparent walls, they could see aliens from 8 different species setting up chairs and demonstration equipment. "I still can't believe this is my job now," Hana said. "A week ago, I was just a student. Now I'm teaching ambassadors and engineers how to interact with humans safely." Dr. O nodded. "The galaxy needs teachers like you, Hana. People who understand both sides of the problem." As they entered the cultural center, they were greeted by an unexpected sight. Ambassador Krellmoth was sitting in the front row, his healing arm now out of its cast and wrapped in a simple support bandage. Next to him sat Nam Hyun-soo, the martial arts instructor, who was showing him basic stretching exercises. "Ambassador," Dr. O said, approaching them, "should you be participating in physical activities so soon?" Krellmoth looked up with a grin that was becoming familiar around the station. "My arm is healing well, and I specifically requested to join today's session. I want to learn proper self-defense techniques from humans." "Self-defense?" Hana asked, confused. "Yes," Krellmoth said. "If I'm going to work closely with humans in the future, I should know how to protect myself appropriately. Not from humans, but with humans." Nam Hyun-soo nodded approvingly. "The ambassador is a quick learner. He's already mastered the basic stance and breathing techniques." More aliens began filing into the room for the session. There were twice as many attendees as the day before, and 3 times as many as the first session. Word was spreading throughout the station that the human safety classes were actually helpful rather than frightening. Dr. O activated the room's main display screen. "Today's topic is emergency procedures," she announced. "We're going to learn what to do if you're ever in danger and there are humans nearby." A young tentacle being raised one of his arms. "What kind of dangers?" "The normal ones," Hana explained. "Fires, equipment failures, medical emergencies, or even criminal attacks. Situations where human strength and speed could save your life." She gestured to Nam Hyun-soo, who demonstrated by lifting a piece of heavy equipment that would normally require a mechanical lifter. He moved it easily and set it down gently. "In an emergency, don't be afraid to ask humans for help," Hana continued. "We're trained to be extra careful when lives are at stake. A Felixian named Tixka raised her small paw. But what if we panic? What if we accidentally trigger your defensive reflexes? This was an excellent question, and Dr. O had been hoping someone would ask it. That's where the new protocols come. Dr. O explained, humans are now trained to recognize panic behavior in different species. We know that a Felixian's quick movements mean fear, not aggression. We know that a crystalline's flashing colors indicate distress, not anger. Nam Hyun-soo stepped forward. And you're learning to recognize human protective behavior. When a human moves quickly toward you in an emergency, they're trying to help, not hurt. To demonstrate this, he had Hana pretend to be injured on the floor. Nam Hyun-soo moved toward her with swift, purposeful steps that would have terrified aliens a week ago. But now the class watched calmly as he gently lifted her and carried her to safety. See how his movements are controlled even though they're fast? Dr. O pointed out. That's the difference between human emergency response and human defensive response. Ambassador Krellmoth raised his good hand. I have a question about the defensive response. Miss Hana, when you grabbed my arm, you said you could have done much worse. Can you explain what you meant? The room became very quiet. This was still a sensitive topic. Hana looked at Dr. O, who nodded encouragingly. When someone grabs you from behind on a death world, Hana explained carefully, your first thought is that a predator is trying to kill you. Your body prepares to do whatever is necessary to survive. Which means, pressed Krellmoth, strike to disable or kill the threat, Hana said simply. But humans are taught from childhood to assess the threat level and respond appropriately. When I realized you weren't actually trying to hurt me, I immediately reduced my response to the minimum necessary to make you let go. How did you know I wasn't a real threat? Krellmoth asked. Hana thought about this. Several things. You grabbed my shoulder, not my throat or arms. You didn't try to drag me anywhere. You didn't cover my mouth to stop me from calling for help. And when I twisted your arm, you let go immediately instead of fighting back. The aliens in the room exchanged glances. They were learning more about predatory behavior than they had ever wanted to know. A crystalline delegate named Fexen spoke up. Are there situations where humans would not show restraint? Dr. O decided to answer this one. If a human believes that innocent people are in mortal danger, especially children or the elderly, their protective instincts become very strong. They might use much more force than normal. Has this ever happened? Asked Tixka nervously. Namio. Hyun-soo nodded. 3 years ago, raiders attacked a mixed colony of humans and Felixians. The human colonists eliminated the entire raider force in less than 10 minutes. The room was silent. No Felixian colonists were harmed. Nam Hyun-soo added. The humans made sure of that. Ambassador Krellmoth stood up slowly. I think this is what we've all been missing. We've been focused on human strength as a threat. But their strength exists to protect the weak, not exploit them. Exactly, Dr. O said. That's why the new protocols focus on cooperation instead of separation. She activated a new display showing statistics from the past week. Since implementing the contact protocols, we've had 0 incidents between humans and other species. More importantly, we've had 3 successful emergency responses where human strength saved alien lives. The aliens in the room looked interested in hearing more. A human engineer named Park Soo-jin prevented a crystalline worker from being crushed by falling cargo. A human doctor named Yoo Hee-jin performed emergency surgery on a tentacled patient using her precise muscle control. And yesterday, a human security officer named Lee Dong-min stopped an attempted robbery without harming the criminal. The criminal was Vorthak, Nam Hyun-soo added. Twice the size of the human officer, but Lee Dong-min subdued him using minimal force and held him safely until proper authorities arrived. Ambassador Krellmoth smiled. These are the humans I want as neighbors. Not because they're weak, but because they're strong enough to choose restraint. Dr. O closed her tablet. That brings us to our final topic for today. The Galactic Council has approved funding for Deathworlder exchange programs. Excited chatter filled the room. What does that mean? Asked Fexin. It means we're actively searching for other species from high-gravity, dangerous worlds, Dr. O explained. When we find them, humans will help integrate them into galactic society. Hana stepped forward. We know what it's like to be seen as dangerous when you're just trying to fit in. We can help other Deathworlder species learn the same restraint and control that humans have developed. And they can teach us new techniques, Nam Hyensu added. Maybe some of them have developed better methods for controlling their strength. A new voice spoke from the back of the room. That sounds like a wonderful program. Everyone turned to see High Counselor Zephron entering the cultural center. His silver skin was glowing with approval. Counselor, Dr. O said, surprised. We weren't expecting you. I wanted to see these new protocols in action, Zephron said. I'm pleased to report that similar programs are being established on 43 other stations throughout the galaxy. The room erupted in pleased chatter. Furthermore, Zephron continued, the Galactic Council has received 12 applications from suspected Deathworlder species requesting integration assistance. Humans will be leading these first contact missions. Hana felt a thrill of excitement. A week ago, she had been afraid she would be expelled from galactic society.